I would like to call to order the Finance and Personnel Committee meeting for Monday, July 6, 2015. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Bussey?
Here.
Alder Wood?
Here.
Mayor Miller?
Here. Is there a motion for approval of the minutes of the June 1st meeting?
So moved. Second.
Any corrections, deletions, or additions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes have been approved. You're here for phone system? Okay. There's no appearances. There's no unfinished business this evening. Under item 6, new businesses. 6A, consideration of resolution 15-7-2031, the approval of a proposal from Enterprise Systems Group for a citywide IP-based phone system. Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval. Second.
Motion second. Leah?
You should have received an email today with some of the detail in regards to an updated estimate for the installation, but I'll let Leah take it from there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. We budgeted money in the capital budget for this year, $75,000 to replace our phone system throughout the city. Our current phone system is more than 10 years old. We can't get any replacement parts for it anymore. When we have new staff and we need to update phones, we actually have to keep an old computer with Windows XP on it because it's the only way to update the system. So it's definitely at the end of its life cycle. We drafted an RFP, and we had 6 responses, 6 proposals to our RFP. We had an internal committee that reviewed all the RFP responses. It was composed of me, Pat, Sarah Duman, Lieutenant Duman from our police department, and our 2 IT consultants from Land Tech. We chose 3 of the 6 companies and asked them to come in, show us their equipment, and do a demonstration of their system for us. And of those 3, we decided to continue with your approval with Enterprise Systems Group, also called ESG. They are offering a Mitel phone system, which is a pretty good phone system for groups and organizations our size. It's pretty easy on the back end for us to maintain and update without having to have a lot of IT support or IT expertise to do that. So we thought it would be a good system. The quote that I sent you is the latest quote that they sent me, which I think is a pretty good quote because I was able to go to each of our departments in each of our buildings, talk to each of our department heads individually about exactly how many phones they need, exactly what types of phones they need, and I asked ESG to give me a quote really based on those numbers. So the quote they provided me, as you see here, totals out to about $60,000, close to $60,000, and that would be phones for all of our buildings, including the library, City Hall, the police department, fire department, community center. So that would take care of everybody in the city. Because this is an IP-based phone system where our current phone system is not, we are going to have some additional expense of dropping data lines where they don't currently exist because the phones will need to use data lines and be connected to a server. So I would ask that if you could approve this resolution for up to the amount and not to exceed the amount that was originally budgeted, $75,000, that would leave us a contingency for doing those data lines and for any other surprises that we may encounter along the way.
Do you know where those data lines are needed?
Yeah, we need them in all the garages because we currently don't have any data running to the fire department garage, the police department garages. The public works garage will need some data lines. In this building, we're not quite exactly sure if we're going to have to drop new data lines or what we're going to do because they're not actually on our city server. Most of the office is in this building. So.
And of your 3 finalists, how does this cost compare to the other 2?
All of our finalists were very, very competitive and very similar in the quotes. So.
Questions?
Yep, just one.
Mm-hmm.
If you lose connection to the server, the police department and fire department certainly would still need connection to the outside world, how will that be taken care of?
Yep, so currently the police department has telephone lines that come in, separate telephone lines that are completely dedicated to the 911 system, and that will not change. Those phone lines will still be there, and the 911 system will still operate on their current, I think it's the Viper system or whatever they currently do. So we are very explicit in our RFP that any system that we had to be able to work with our 911 system, and that system could not go down, so.
Okay, but the non-emergency number for the police department would be connected to this new system?
It would, but the way that it's explained to me is that the telephone lines will come into the building, and then those lines will be connected to the server, which services the voice over IP system.
Mm-hmm.
So if we had an outage, like a server outage, we might lose things like voicemail service, but we would still be able to receive calls coming into the building.
Okay.
Can we eBay the old phones or anything?
Yeah, we can give it a shot.
Alder Bussey.
You had mentioned that the three were priced, or close in price. What caused you to choose ESG? Were they low bidder, or were there other things that caused you to?
They were actually, it was their system, actually. They were the only ones who showed us a MyTel phone system. The other two finalists showed us a ShoreTel system. And we thought that the MyTel system would work a little bit better for the city. Their phones, their hardware and phones specifically are a little bit more like the phones we currently have, so we thought for users it would be a little bit easier of a transition. They also offer 24-hour line monitoring, so if we have something going on with our server, we have something going on with the system, they'll be able to see that on their end and monitor it and troubleshoot it remotely or send someone out.
And the others didn't have that?
No.
Thank you.
Further questions? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Wood.
Aye.
Alderman Bussey.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much, Leah.
Thank you.
Item 6B is consideration of Resolution 15-7-2036 is the authorization to submit a water rate case to the Public Service Commission. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Mark?
I did have if you want to have like a 5-minute presentation.
Sure.
On there, it's just a quick little PowerPoint, just to explain it. Before you get set up, do you have this? Let me know when you get it set up. Basically, just to start, this is just the authorization to start working with the PSC to pull the water, get the authorization to start working on a water rate case. This is not me, this is the rate that's going to be. Basically, what it would do is get the authorization. We'll start with the PSC. It's about a 40 to 50 page report. I fill out all our expenditures, revenues, number of users, consumption, mains, number of mains, laterals, all that infrastructure stuff. We fill that out, our debt, it's all in there. And then the report gets sent to the PSC, and then they take a look at it, and their rate analysis people will look at it and help determine what the rate would be. They'll set that up. And then with that, I know we've talked about this changed. We have the conservation rates right currently for the residential. We have conservation rates, so more water used, the more their rate goes up. And for business, industrial customers, that more water used, it's a declining rates structure. So with this water rate increase, I'd be looking, I guess with your authorization, because we talked about a lot about going the opposite way and do this, make them all the same, commercial, industrial users and resident users all in a conservation rate. I don't know if it's up. This is, I'll take a step back. The reason for why one authorization to start working the PSC for increasing the rates. It's kind of four main reasons, or three. Since the last water rate case, which is 2011, we borrowed roughly $4.5 million for infrastructure. So that alone is a huge increase. That's
we need to pass along.
What was most of that Monona Drive?
That was kind of last year, Monona Drive, and also some of the Broadway work that was done. Some other, I think there were the two main ones. I can't think offhand what the other ones were. They're the two larger ones. So that we haven't, in the rate case, that hasn't been accounted for in our rates yet, so that needs to be accounted for. And anticipating borrowing at least $500,000 in 2016. I know you guys haven't seen the capital; it's still in the infant stage. But there's some bridge road work that we're going to do, and that could be some major work there with the utilities, especially with the water utility. So that's one of the reasons. Another reason. So if you add that into the 4.5, you get $5 million worth of borrowing that we need to. That's been since the last rate increase. Also, we lost our largest water user. It's about 60,000 that we have to account for, which they used probably about 25 to 30,000 gallons. And the next one, the second lowest one, is roughly around 10,000 gallons. So they are our largest user. Losing that revenue, they just lost them. We had half most of the year last year, and we have a full year this year. We'll be without them. So that's been having an effect on our revenues from 2005 and 2015. And
What is the offsetting expense to that lost revenue? I mean, we must save something. We lose 30,000 gallons of usage, but
there is like pumping. There is some maintenance, pumping power, and that, but not enough to make up that dollar amount minimum. Because we have the same amount of crew, we have basically all the same expenses, except for some pumping issue or things. And the other, kind of the biggest one is it goes along with the debt requirement. When we borrow, especially for revenue bonds, there's a requirement we have. It's called a debt coverage. That our revenues must be 1.25% of our debt service, so principal and interest. And if we're not in compliance with that, technically we're in default of our revenue bonds. And with losing that 60-some thousand, and there, and then just with the extra debt that's going on, we're getting close to that revenue requirement. So that's kind of the biggest thing. This is kind of just the definition of it. They take the revenues less operating expenses, excluding depreciation. So we have to have that coverage, and they test for that coverage every year. I have to fill out forms that we send in to our debt net with what's actually Hutchison, Shockey, and Earl, and our auditors will look at that too to make sure we're in compliance with that. We have always been in compliance, so it's not an issue. But here's kind of just to look at just to make this coverage, just kind of to show it. Operating revenue in 2014 was 1.5, almost 1.6. 2015, just based on the current 6 months, we're roughly going to be 1.5 million. So it's roughly a $64,000 decrease. The expenses are going up. Interest income's pretty steady, so I just kind of kept that for 14, 15, and 16. And then our expenses, it just what it was for 14, what they're kind of hitting on for 15. So I get what our earnings would be. And then underneath that, you see what our requirements for the subsequent year debt service, what we need to required revenue. 2014, we were fine at 1.66. 2015 are 1.5. In 2016, we are about 1.26, so we kind of get close there. So that's kind of one of the biggest reasons to make sure we're in compliance there. And then I kind of go conservation rates, and I guess that'd be up to you guys. I believe we want to go with the
who's going to present that case for that?
Conservation rates.
Dan?
Well, I guess I would get your authorization to work with the PSC, and then they take all the data, and they determine the rate structure on that.
It makes sense, but I mean, I don't feel qualified to. I mean, is this going to have huge impacts on businesses?
Well, I can work with the PSC if you want. We can get both analysis.
Yeah, I'd like to.
It's going to probably take a little slow their time down, but this is a 3 to 6 month process at least. So time I get to them, and then they have like another 3 to 6 months.
Unless somebody can educate us more, I'm not comfortable changing things other than common sense says what's good for the goose is good.
Yeah, I
for
mean, we
the
can keep
gander.
the same as the way, but I just know we've kind of talked
Yeah.
about it.
But I thought Dan had done a lot of research on that. Okay,
I think he has, but,
all right.
there's, some communities have it, some don't. Some have it the way we have it, just residential, and some have the business. I guess it's,
Is there a way to find out in Dane County what other cities have it?
yeah, there's not a lot of ones in the whole state in general, so it have to be kind of more of a statewide thing to have the conservation rates. People are just starting to go that way, so I'll have to figure out kind of statewide on that number. We keep it the same. It would be a huge change. I mean, granted, your biggest users are your commercial customers, so.
Well, I mean, it would depend on where you set the breakpoints for the commercial. I mean, you wouldn't set them at the same levels
No.
as for residential, so
Right.
the size of it, the breakpoints would
Yeah.
determine the impact, but, I mean, I guess to me, I'd have to be persuaded not to do it rather than to do it, because I think it's, residential users have been paying under that structure for a couple of years, and if it encourages water conservation, that meets some of our other goals. On the other hand, yeah, don't want them to have such an impact on other big water users that they might consider going somewhere else. But
And you're correct, though. What we did when they did the residential, I give them all the data, and then they find those points. They
okay,
find, and then they would determine, they're not going to put every user that's going to be in that high level. It's going to be just a couple. And they'll have their midpoint, and then they have their lower one. So they do that information. They do all that in the rate case. That's their users will do that. So I guess I'm just requesting to get the authorization to start the process. And then what would happen, they would recommend what the rate would be, and then I'd come back to this body, I guess starting with Public Works and here, and they would have, what their suggestions are. We don't have to go with that, but we would, that's going to be their recommendation. And you can do it in, different intervals and however you want to do it, but we would come back here first before you have that kick in
Do
the
you
can.
expect that'll be this fall, so it'll be something that'll be in the 2016?
I'm hoping, like I said, it takes probably 3 to 6 months. I'm hoping by, November or so we'll have something.
Further discussion? Alder Bussey.
Could you go back a couple screens to the debt cover ratio that you had? Thank you. Where did the income projections come from?
Well, 2014 is the actual, and then 2015, I've just been basing on the current projections, what we have so far to date, and just kind of what each quarter's.
And some sort of a...
I know,
2015 reflects the loss of our major user.
yeah,
So if we're at 156, why does it drop to 126? Debt go up?
yes, debt is going up. We have had a lot of debt.
So if we're at 126, we're still above 125. Why?
Well, that's really just give or take a couple numbers would swing that.
I understand, but I'm trying to get my hands around. Is this going to be we don't have to be at 1.5. We don't have to be at 1.66. If we're between 1.25 and 1.3, we don't have to have enormous rate increases.
Right, if you stay at the 1.25, you just want to make sure that,
If we drop below 1.25, what happens?
I guess we've never done it.
Slapped, or do we get in trouble?
Well, we'd be considering default in our loans. I don't know if that would hurt our ratings.
Yeah, that's trouble.
That would be the biggest issue.
And the conservation rate impact, are there other neighboring communities that have conservation rates, or are we going to be the lone soldier
No, there's a lot of.
driving businesses to go to McFarland and Stoughton and places like that?
When I last talked to a person who was Jeff Ripp at the time, the PSC, he originally set up the residential ones for us. At the time, we were, there was a handful that were doing it, and they were doing it both ways. They were doing it, some communities did all of one structure, all users types, and some are just doing exactly the way we did it. So it depended from community to community, and I can get that information.
Yeah, that'd be appreciated, so that when the time comes, we can see, what impact it may or may not have with our business community.
Alder Wood.
do you recall when we went to the conservation rates, like 3 years ago?
Yeah, 2011.
So my guess would be since then that
There's a lot more.
a lot more.
The bigger cities I know have those rates structures, so I have to get that information.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Mark. Item C is consideration of Resolution 15-7-2035, providing for the sale of $1,500,000 of taxable general obligation promissory notes, Series 2015B. Is there a motion for approval?
So move approval.
Second.
This is
Second, Mark?
pretty straightforward. This is 1.5 is for the Tresta development. This is part of our development agreement. As most of you are aware of, the project's almost completed, so they're in the process of getting their information to us to file for their developers' money. So this is for that. It will be taxable, so it'll be a little bit higher rate than the non-taxable. But this is the authorization again for Jeff Belangi to go out there to the market and start negotiating with the bondholders and come back at the next meeting with the actual figures, with the interest rates.
Questions? Alder Bussey?
The budget effect, it said expenditure not authorized in the budget.
It was, when we did the 2014 or 2015 budget, we didn't put a budget amount. It was budgeted in the developer's agreement, and the project plan, it just wasn't in the actual budget.
So what impact is that going to have on?
It has no impact other than we just need to show a budget amount. We didn't know if it was going to be 2015 or 16.
Because we don't write the check, the money comes from the TIF agreement.
Right.
So, yeah, got it.
Following up on that, so that the TIF payments we get will exceed the debt service on the 1.5 each year, correct?
Well, it will. Part of the developer's agreement, there is a increment phase. If they don't meet the requirements every year, we'll bill them. They'll pay the difference.
Right,
So we do have, that's part of the developer's agreement.
Yeah, 18.5 million is the guaranteed value.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Further questions? Nope. Hearing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Wood.
Aye.
Alderman Bussey.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 7 is acceptance of general fund accounts payable checks dated May 29th through July 2nd, 2015. Mark?
There's basically a whole month in here, so how many pages we got? 54 pages, so if you got some questions and pages, let me know. I'm just going to start at page 3, Cranberry Creek. Just want to hit on that, the volunteer appreciation dinner. That was for that. A lot of these are just general stuff, so I'm just going to hit page 7. Strand Associates, just kind of what they're hitting on, what they're working on for us. You can see they're doing some stormwater projects, the Tink, water tower repainting.
And that's the interior of the water tower.
Is that done now?
I believe it is.
It's close. Page 8, as you know, Vanderwall, they're working on their riverfront development. Beer-Becker, they are doing Wattis Park and some site plan reviews for us.
We go back to the Strand Associates thing, page 7. What was the Winnequa Park Lagoon sampling? Is that something we typically do, or was there a particular reason?
That was for the stormwater project that we're doing at Winnequa.
On the outfalls.
That'd be on the far south side. We're doing the stormwater project there, and as part of that replacement, we have to sample
Okay.
the water.
Page 18. Just some little things that add up, for the rec department, party company. the outdoor movie screen. Page 19, W. Davies and Sons remodeling the radio station. It's almost up and ready, running. Page 23, kind of the same thing with the Broadcasters General Store. Again, radio station equipment. Page 25. Got some larger ones here. They're in the process of working on Lotus Park, Harmony Construction. There. Hamburg did the community center sidewalk. That was in the 2014 budget. That was carried over.
Question on the Lotus Park, the timeline, are we on schedule? And
Yeah, August 15th is the projected completion date.
thank you. No surprises?
No surprises today.
Underneath that, Johnson Trees. They had some bunch of tree removals just recently. Underneath that one, the swimming pool concession remodel that was part of the capital budget. And then landmarks, the very last one that goes into the next page, is our fuel for the city. Just some expensive things, mechanical ink, pool heater repair, $720. Here we go. Page 32, accurate appraisal. Just all the, if you're aware of everything that's been done there, they did their open book. Border review was closed, I believe, right? So this is the final bill for a year. I know there's been some discussion, it might be in the budget for next year, a walkthrough, but that's looking at the numbers for that.
Do we not require any percentage of walkthroughs anymore?
We haven't. We've been at the, there's a state law that says if you have to be under 92%, it triggers it, 92% of the equalized value. We're
Right.
roughly around 98. We haven't done it. I know we have talked about internally with the mayor and Pat about doing a percentage coming up here, so we are talking with Akron and getting a number on that.
Well, in addition to the state law requirement, I think just for accuracy and fairness, it probably makes sense to do a percentage of walkthroughs, 20% every year or 25 or something.
And that's what we've done in the past. That was
Right.
our last one, was 20 or 25%.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was like, I think we stopped doing that in 2009.
Yeah, 9 or 10, yeah.
So it's not too far out of date, but it's getting there.
Page 34, City Match and Treasure, just a swimming pool concessions license that we paid to the city. 35, Ewald Hartford Ford, the water van chassis. That's all approved, part of the capital.
Question on 35, EP Industries, digital sign relocation. Is that Monona Drive and Broadway?
Yes.
Okay. Why can, on Broadway, they've got these huge changeable signs that say 9 minutes to, to the interstate that change, and we can't have a sign that changes on Broadway?
Basically, it has
Drive.
to be traffic safety related messages. We could leave the sign up or left it up on Monona Drive and Broadway, but it would have had to been all public service traffic safety related messages.
So what's going in?
Right there, they're going to do something similar. Sonia's working with the sign designer that did the entryway features at Monona Drive, where you see the wave, the colored wave and the Monona. So there's going to be options taken to Plan Commission for that in the next couple months.
Well, and it's not going to be a changeable sign, so
It's
we
going to be a
can't use the-
stagnant lit sign.
we can't use a traffic sign that says 2 minutes to Aldo Leopold, right turn. Is that the?
Please. 1 minute.
Thanks, Pat.
And are we reusing that sign that was taken out? I know there was some
It's
discussion.
down at Monona State Bank,
It is.
Yeah.
Which one?
the new one.
Okay.
Yeah, the new one's higher resolution. It's on now, but we don't have the internet connection yet. I believe they're doing that this week, and then Leah and other staff will be able to update those messages at that location.
And we don't have any rules on that one, right? We're far enough off of the right-of-way.
We don't have any rules by the DOT. We will have our same template of rules
Right.
that it has to be public-related information.
But we can have Santa fly at Christmas.
Page 37, the last bill for the Harmony construction for the library stairs. Page 38, LW Allen, swimming pool pump installation. This was part of the approved 2015 capital. Page 39, I don't know if you see these things, the Monona Grove boys basketball, Monona Grove volleyball camps. Basically, we collect for them, and we pay it back over to them. We do collect a certain percentage, so it's kind of an in and out, but we get a small percentage of the income. Page 42, just so you, their cell phones that we have for a monthly, and then underneath that, utility master. It's the last piece for the water truck. It's the box that goes on the chassis. Again, that was part of the capital. Page 43, Bill Cole, just so you see what his items he's working on. This is a monthly bill for May. Page 46, that's that parcel stuff I'm talking about, isn't it?
Yes.
Page 46, Dane County Treasurer. This was kind of brought up in the paper, but this is the property taxes for Chase Bank and Ruby's. I missed those. I thought it was my fault. I thought they were tax exempt, and the bills were actually sent also to a different address, so I never seen them. And then when I was aware of it, we paid it right away. So that's all paid up to date. Again, page 49, some more large costs from Harmony Construction.
Could I, just for, back to the Dane County, the tax thing.
Yeah.
So we got those tax monies?
This is us paying the real estate taxes for those two.
Right.
And we paid them out of, reimbursed out of the Chase Bank revenues that we've been receiving.
Okay, so those two parcels, they did not make their payments to us?
Well, they were actually owned by us, and that was my fault. I thought they were tax exempt.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Yep.
That was, and
And the bills were actually sent to the LLC and not
Oh.
to the city.
so I
Okay.
totally did that. Page 50, just so we just did our second quarter of brush pickup with Johnson Trees. We have 2 more quarters left. Again, page 52, Strand Associates, the areas they are working on for us. Page 53, I mentioned this already, W. Davies, they also doing other work besides the cable or the radio station. They're actually working in the 2 approved projects, the dispatch remodel and the PD kitchen project remodel. That's all I have.
Alder Bussey.
Move approval for checks dated May 29th to July 2nd, 2015.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
All right.
Opposed? Checks have been approved. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Move adjournment.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.